here. It's always a great group, and it seems to be growing every time I come. And it's exciting to talk about Pueblo West Metropolitan District and our community. Since the moment I arrived here in Colorado, I've been living in Pueblo West, and it's always been my community, and I think it always will be. More importantly, it's my son's community, and we're going to try to do the best we can to progress it and make you proud. I guess I'll just describe Metro District in one word, and in our word, which is dynamic. We had a fantastic 2011, and we've got a great game plan for 2012. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about 2011, and then we'll get in the second half talking about what our plans are for this year. Water, we put this at the top of the list. Highlighted here, this is a reservoir. This is Canyon City. This is a project that we've been looking at. Storage of water is significant to any community. Water is a scarcity, obviously, in Colorado, and we are pursuing water acquisition and water storage on a daily basis. And this is one of the prospects that we had to potentially build a reservoir. Reservoirs are very expensive, and we'll be looking at this as its viability coming up this year, probably within the next couple of months. This is talking a little bit about where our water comes from, and what we do is we actually have water up in the Twin Lakes area. So you're talking about up here. Twin Lakes is where we get Trans Mountain water coming over from the Colorado River into Twin Lakes, and then obviously it ends up down here in the Pueblo Reservoir. Our exchanges are important. Aurora has water here. Aurora has water here. We have water here. It's easier for Aurora to get water to themselves there, and obviously easier for us to get water to ourselves here. So when we exchange, it's a benefit for both of us. This was a great deal that we entered into with Aurora, and we actually realized the maximum benefit of that. By not having to move water and lose an evaporation, plus Aurora gave us a premium for just doing the exchange. That's roughly 500 homes worth of water right there that we get just by simply shaking hands in a deal. So we're excited that that deal came through last year and will be ongoing. We also did purchase several years back a ranch. Twin Lakes is up here. We purchased a ranch. This is between Buena Vista and Salida, a 1,200-acre ranch, which we are converting over to municipal water rights right now. It's about another 2,000 acre-feet, so about another 4,000 homes worth of water that we could potentially
The ranch were the water rights.
Pardon me?
The ranch were the water rights on the ranch.
Both.
Both?
Oh, excuse me, just the water rights.
Just the water rights.
Just the water rights. A few other items in terms of water. We looked at 4 separate water right acquisitions initiatives. I said we were constantly looking for water rights acquisition. That's a very difficult landscape or marketplace, but we are right in the middle of that, and we have some good prospects for the future to continue to grow our water portfolio. We did, through the course of last year, upgrade about 3,000 feet of water mains. A lot of it was related to the Maine McCulloch Road project. In terms of wastewater, we secured a low-interest loan, low interest being just over 2%. It's subsidized by the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority, which is going to allow us to build a new biosolids handling unit. This unit here will allow us to process our wastewater in a much more efficient fashion. It'll probably save us, we estimate, between $150,000 and $200,000 a year, plus be greener than our current operations. And we're actually in the final design phases of this right now. We'll start construction of that this year, with it completed at the end of, or sometime next year. This is that facility that's just off at the end of our, the eastern end of our borders off of Highway 50. Stormwater is also a concern of ours. Stormwater is significant in terms of keeping the water quality high in this area, and obviously downstream as well. We are a permittee from the state in terms of stormwater, and it's our obligation to ensure that we have the stormwater drainage ways cleaned, and so it doesn't in any way affect the water stream. We did a study last year in this Dry Creek Basin, and we'll talk a little bit about another study and where our future is potentially in stormwater in 2012. Our fire department, as I mentioned, you couldn't even make up this number, but that's the actual number of calls that we ran last year. The majority of those, the grand majority of those were medical-related calls. Although, and I think this tends to surprise people, we extinguished 42 fires last year here in Pueblo West. That was structure fires, wildland fires, car fires, a variety of different fires that we had. And I think our fire department did a great job, and I've said it and I'll continue to say it, if for any unfortunate circumstance you would need to dial 911, you have a very solid team, and I think you'd be proud of actually who showed up and what kind of care you received from this group. It's a very solid, dedicated group. Through our partnership out with the chemical depot, they have, through the course of the years and their presence that they've been building up to demilitarize some of those munitions out there, have purchased around the community assets so that they have backup assets in case there would be some type of emergency situation. And this is, we have actually received several units over the years, but this is our newest unit here. This is an interface truck. It's a four-wheel drive vehicle. It's a pumper, and it allows us to go out and better fight wildland fires if that were to occur, or also to be able to respond out to the chemical depot if necessary. This one is in full use right now and can respond on multiple calls, whether it be fire or medical as well. We did launch a volunteer residency program. So we're about half and half in terms of our fire department, professional staff, and volunteers. But we had interest from individuals who were outside the community. Let's say lived in Pueblo or Canyon, Beulah, Rye, and they obviously couldn't respond from their homes from there. So we launched, and we never had firefighters that were not from this area. So we actually started a residency program where they could come in and be a volunteer in Pueblo West, but they'd actually have to reside in the station during the times that they were volunteering. That has worked really well for us, although we've even updated that further, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Last year we did embark on some capital projects in terms of roads. This is one section that we did here. The Coral, this is up in your neighborhood. Yeah, there's some clapping by Chad. This section here was the roller coaster of Pueblo West. If you ever had a chance to ride it, it was pretty great actually. We could have converted that over up into Six Flags up in Great America. But nonetheless, this is a great stretch that really needed to be improved, and it was. And I just stuck this in here because we created our first quote-unquote bridge. But more importantly, I should have put this in Parks and Rec because that's the best skateboard park in this whole region now. We've seen that. A little quick story, as they were just about to open this up, just by circumstance, I was happening to come down McCulloch, and I pulled off the side of the road, and they were just about to pull the cones. I thought, okay, great, I could be the first one to drive this new stretch. So just as they pulled up the cones, I saw my rear mirror car coming, and the second they pulled it up, that car just went right in, cut me off, and they got the first ride on that. This was the other major project we did. This was Platteville Boulevard from Purcell here up to Gans Fort. Our fire station right there is a measure of geography. And this is a great stretch, and they did a fantastic job on this road. Very highly traveled road to get to this section of Pueblo West, and much needed improvement there. We did receive a $600,000 grant for a park and ride. So this is I-25 here, exit 108 at Purcell. So here's the proposed site right now. So we had a lot of kind of patches where commuters seem to congregate, and this is one. You probably noticed all the cars lined up here and lined up here. Well, this is going to be an asphalt lit area, and we hope that we can get this underway this year. Other public works projects, we started the main McCulloch project last year to kind of get it to final design and ready to go for, and it actually started late last year, and we know it's in full swing this year. We did do an overlay up on Purcell. We didn't do a lot of work on Purcell because it's now the primary SDS haul route. You'll see a lot of pipes coming in and out, a lot of construction activity. Colorado Springs Utilities has committed, once they finish the pipeline through Pueblo County, to come back and overlay all their haul routes and improve those after their wear and tear. And then we did 2,250 feet of asphalt patching throughout the district as well. Parks and Recreation, we had a great year. We received a grant from Greater Outdoors Colorado to begin a Civic Center Park Master Plan. That'll come up a little bit later. And CDOT, again, a lot of people I don't think realize how much CDOT actually gives to communities. A community like ours in particular, because we're not a curb and gutter community, and trails are parts of rights-of-ways and movement, and they consider trails as integral a part of a community as they do roads. And so they gave us quite a large sum of grants last year for 2 particular trails, and we've been the recipient in the past of other CDOT funds, which is very, very important to improve our recreation here. So I'll talk a little bit. The Sierra Vista Trail, this 1 mile stretch is right here. This is behind Sierra Vista Elementary School. That was completed last year. And these rest of these green and blue lines is the current trail system. These are all asphalt right here. This is crusher fine, and I'll talk about these red lines in just a moment as some of our expansion. Parks and Recreation, we have been going through 2011 a process of looking at a sports complex. Right now we're just tentatively naming it the Soaring Eagle Complex, which you can see we've got ball diamonds here, multi-use. You can actually use these outfields for youth soccer and otherwise, baseball, softball, and then we've got other multi-purpose fields here that you can host soccer tournaments. You could also play lacrosse on there if the high school wanted a home field, for example, and then there's some contemplation of maybe a practice facility down here. This still is in the design and conceptual stages, and we'll see how this progresses. What we do know is that we have a demand right now, and I reported to the board last night. We started signing up for softball season on Monday. Our first teams were in line at 2:30 a.m. and by the time the end of the first day was over, we had 8 teams on the waiting list. So we do need to address over time that pent-up demand here. What I didn't realize until I came into this role is how much kickball is still a vibrant sport for adults. I remember playing kickball in PE class, but we have quite a few teams that compete in adult kickball out here every year. Parks and Recreation, we put a new liner in the pool. This pool has got significant demand. We have 2 sessions just to be able to get everybody in and give access. This is another place where over time it will probably have to be addressed or expanded. Economic development really progressed forward last year. We created the Economic Development Corporation Pueblo West. It's fledgling and it's advancing right now. We work with 2 national retailers on potential site location. This one is the first one that we know that is going to happen, and that'll be over on the Purcell location, just up what would be south of the Loaf and Jug there. And I think we made some significant progress in terms of bridging our relationship with Pedco and understanding where we could overlap and help and what some of our individual aspirations are. Our, for example, pursuit of jobs is not the same as their primary job definition that they only pursue. And so, but there are some ways that we can certainly benefit each other. We did partner with San Isabel Electric, who fortunately decided to keep their headquarters here and are under construction right now. They bought the Ferguson, was the old Ferguson building, and here's, you can see significant progress on that. And this was a partnership between ourselves and Pueblo County with tax abatements, and this is on Pueblo West land, which we deeded over to San Isabel as a full economic incentive package to locate here when they had options to go other places. But we're happy that they chose to stay in Pueblo West. Our covenant enforcement here, we really did a lot to reposition our fleet, computer, hardware, software, and also our process. So this is inside one of our inspection units here. And these are the type of things that we're trying to inspect, from storage to weeds, to trash, to a variety of unsightly vehicles or otherwise, and we've done a lot better, I think, if you look at some of our enforcement activity. Inspections are up, our letters are up, our hearings are down, and our litigations that we actually go to court are down, and our resolutions are significantly up. So we've been much more assertive about going out and finding, not just reacting in terms of resident complaints, but going out and seeking that out and trying to keep our community the way we intended to be. Yes, sir.
There's a financial number to that also, because every time our lawyer writes a letter saying we're going to sue you, it costs us about $500.
That's right.
To start that process. So when you see litigation from 12 to 2, right, you're looking at significant dollars.
That is correct.
Resolutions, 470 to 65, is because I think the letters that we have written are being paid attention to.
They're right. They're being paid more and more attention to, and we get quicker resolutions in many cases than we have before, not had to take it to litigation. Committee of Architecture, this is, you can see a comparison of year over year from 2010. Fewer homes, one fewer commercial, but accessory structures are staying strong. And if you looked at years past, you'd see that accessory structures are up considerably. So rather than building homes, a lot of homeowners are either building the additions, building the extra garage, outbuildings, or otherwise doing remodels. And so we've seen a lot of activity and increased activity in construction in that area, even when home structures are going down. So I think that's a positive reflection still of activity here. This is something that we were very, very proud of last year. We're the only community in this area that signed an Army Community Covenant with our base up north of us and neighbor at Fort Carson. You can see us, this is the actual covenant itself right here signed. This is it being signed. This is a 4-star general here, one of 9 in the world that the U.S. Army has, who came down for it, and ourselves signing this covenant. And this is nice because we flew this flag that day. This was donated by a soldier from Pueblo West. This actually flew in Iraq during the course of the Iraq conflict, and was donated to us, and we flew it on this day. As Special District Association, which we're a member of, recognized us with a special collaboration award for this.
This collaboration between Fort Carson and Pueblo West would not have happened without Jerry Blank. Jerry was the first to open discussions with Fort Carson, and a lot of other politicians have tried to take credit for that, but it was Jerry who made this whole thing happen. And I think that there's a legacy of Jerry Martin. I hope someday it will be sooner or better. Our partnership with Fort Carson is because of Jerry's hard work and dedication as a
General initiatives, we started a community strategic plan, which was an assessment of what our baseline is. We started the phase 2. The community does not have a strategic plan, and so we are creating one with the help of a partner. We made some significant efforts here in looking at a much more efficient structure, whether it be board bylaws, policies, operational policies, designs, process flows, significant cost-cutting initiatives. This is almost $300,000 of O&M costs or overhead that we left in 2011, did not bring into 2012. We actually think there's, and that's not including the 150 to 200 from the biosolids handling unit. We did the first time ever fleet reduction. We're doing equipment surplusing. We are right-sizing our organization for the kind of operations we have, the economy and otherwise. And so we're very proud of this, and there's more to come on that. We also did launch a new website based on a new logo, which we think is much more contemporary. And it doesn't say Metropolitan District, it's all about our community, and that was specifically designed that way. And we're excited to have that now going forward. So this is a pause before we get into 2012. 2012, we now have representation on the Twin Lakes Reservoir and Canal Company. There's Twin Lakes. This is our drinking water for Pueblo West, and this is a view of Twin Lakes there up on this side. And that's very significant because that is the crux of our community right there, coming from Twin Lakes. And that's a significant company that manages the assets, and there are quite a few of those to get water stored and moved and distributed. We are doing a water study right now, which in the next couple of weeks we'll be revealing that publicly in terms of what our costs are in relation to water, wastewater, and also raw water. Our only raw water user being the Desert Hot Golf Course right now. We are looking to expand our treatment facility. This is one of our filters. We're designing 2 more filters right now for expansion. We do have SDS pipeline being constructed. You may have seen that in various parts. They're doing it in multiple locations right now. Our pipe, this is the dam here. This is the technical drawing, I understand. We didn't have it, but we have a pipeline coming right off of it to our pump station, and that will pump it over the hill into our treatment facility. Regardless of what happens with SDS, if water ever gets to Colorado Springs, we're going to have water flowing earliest this year, probably at the end of this year, or maybe into early next year, but we're going to be the first beneficiary of SDS, and this is very important for our capacity to bring our water rights out of the reservoir. This is just this is down at the reservoir. This is the full pipeline when they will have it completed all the way up into Colorado Springs. This is pretty significant too. Several years ago, there was some contention between the Board of Waterworks and the City of Pueblo about creating a redundant pipeline between the city and ourselves. They have one treatment facility, we have one treatment facility. If one of those goes down, that community is going to suffer during that period of time. So we actually went through the joint meeting to the City Council, and they seem to be very amenable to this. And so we're looking at connecting our 2 water systems on the north side of 50. 50 comes through here, and this would go down into Pueblo. But if we ever found ourselves in any kind of precarious situation, we'd be able to help each other out for emergency redundancy. And this project will probably be designed this year, and if it goes through, will be constructed next year. Biosolid, this is our Wild Horse pipeline. We talked about the biosolids, and we'll be building that this year. The Wild Horse pipeline is a very significant capital project in our water. This is our wastewater treatment plant here. We will build building pipes here to get our discharge or effluent down into the Arkansas River below here. This is going to save us a considerable amount of water. This is shallow based on our flow and the shallowness of this. A lot of the water evaporates before it hits the Arkansas. Anything that we can put back in the Arkansas, we get credit for upstream, and we can take it in as fresh water. So it behooves us to try to preserve as much of that. We're losing 50 to 70% of it now. With a pipeline, we'll be able to retain 90 to 95% of that's about 500,000 gallons a day that we can get back into our system. So this is a $5.3 million project here that we'll be constructing through this year and next year. This is our last drainage study. We've studied all the others here, and thanks to Mike Healy for these illustrations. And once we're done here, we're going to have to consider what we're going to do. And the likelihood is that we'll have to create a stormwater utility that will give us the resources needed to really look at, now that we've studied all the drainage areas, what it's going to take to keep them at the levels they need to for our permits. We're going to need to have equipment and assets working on those consistently. Our fire department, we realigned and streamlined the command structure. Here's a very vertical structure previously. This is our new structure now. It's much more efficient. It's pushing our command staff down to the incident levels closer, and we don't have the kind of hierarchy. We just don't have the type of the scale of organization to have something like this. We did add 3 new firefighter and paramedics. We've expanded our paramedic group, and we're at 8 now. We have 3 shifts, 1 more at the end of the year, so we'll have 3 paramedics on each shift. We've improved our quantity in terms of the number and be able to work during the daytime, as well as our quality by having more paramedics that can respond. what we did in our volunteer program is, actually at the beginning of this month, we redesigned it completely. Volunteers were able to, prior to this month, respond from home on calls. Now we require all volunteers to be in the station during the course of their shifts. So it reduces the amount of time to get the assets to an incident or otherwise, and it brings up to, in parallel, in parity, what we have with our residency program. So if you're working in the fire department, you're in the station now. There's no responding home from directly or picking up equipment and responding out now. We have a partnership with PCC. We just created a new internship program. We have on-site classes in one of our stations, and we're looking with PCC and some of their resources to build a mock city here. And we would actually use it potentially for training classes, PCC, our own, a regional training center, or otherwise. So this is our training center right now that we have that's very effective for us, but you can see that expand out with a partnership with PCC. We are looking to get transport certification. The AMR group is the lead transporter. If you need an ambulance ride for whatever reason, post-incident or from your home, AMR is the one that does it. We have units that can second as ambulances. They are primary response units, but in the small events or few events that we would actually have to transport, we would get certification to be able to bill like they do. But AMR is our primary ambulance transport. Coded response trials, the Alpha through Delta responses, so Alpha being the lowest, let's say the stub toe, we may, as Colorado Springs does, just send an ambulance rather than 2 vehicles, and then everything else send the fire department and the ambulance. We may trial that this year and see how it goes. This year, I talked about capital projects last year, but this year is focused on maintenance only. We don't have any major road projects that we are out there. Pueblo West out there constructing. We actually hired Lafarge along with the county to do the main McCulloch Road project, since we both put into that. But maintenance is our focus. We have a new capital improvement plan that we've implemented. We'll have a maintenance improvement plan to soon follow. A new crew, road crew. We have a new street superintendent and manager, and we have redesigned our workflow to be able to get more roads maintained throughout the course of the year. We are going to trial potentially going to pave to gravel road regression. Here's an example of a road. I won't name it in case you live on it, but this is a road that will not see any kind of asphalt improvement on our priority list for a long time. Therefore, if we revert it back to a gravel road, we can maintain it at a higher, smoother rate than if we keep it asphalt. And we've got several roads like this that we may revert back to gravel over time. The only small project we're going to do is, if this is Spalding here, this is the high school, we're going to create a driveway, a paved driveway that comes in, because we think this is our major traffic jam of Pueblo West right here. Anyone that's been through there knows that, what it's like in the morning at 7:30. We're going to create an outlet road here to help high school and District 70 in terms of their traffic flow. We do have the main McCulloch Road project here. That's 6 to 8 weeks that main McCulloch will be shut down from Highway 50 to Spalding, and then we will have the whole project done by May 31st or Memorial Day. That's the timeline that we currently have. This is the Civic Center Master Plan. This is one of the iterations of that with the GOCO grant that we received, and we'll finish up the Soaring Eagle. So a lot of different types of activities. I'll circle that there for you, Chuck. There's another dog park in there. We do have 2 trails from the grants we received. This is the east-west trail that will go from Spalding to Purcell, and then we also have a trail that will follow the new main McCulloch Road across Highway 50, down and into the parking lot of Walmart there at the strip malls. So that's a significant improvement there. We're looking at track 234, 235, our fire stations here. This Platteville Purcell corner, we think, is primed for some type of retail development, and we'd like to spur that. This is mostly Metro District owned there. The Economic Development Corporation Pueblo West will start moving forward as an organization, elections, fundraising. We'll look at partnering with the county on some other economic development packages. continue to look at covenant enforcement, including maybe some lien fee structures, initiated cleanups, tracks that we don't have standing in or can enforce once they're 90% plus. We're looking at how we could maybe restructure that. And this is the last slide. We'll complete our comprehensive plan. We're working to update our water quality management plan with our partnership in PACOG. You may have read about House Bill 1254, which allows the lottery funds that are dedicated down to communities for parks and recreation. We only receive half a share of that, and we believe we should receive a full share instead of the county. So we are, Keith Swordfiger, Angela, Sal Pace are all running that legislation. 41 metro districts, not just Pueblo West, will benefit. We're looking at renegotiating the Pueblo West, Pueblo County Road IGA. We think that there's some inequity in terms of funding, that Pueblo West is not receiving enough of the property tax funds into our roads. And then we're looking at a renegotiation of the Desert Hawk Golf Course IGA. And with that, I'll answer any questions you may have. I know I had to run through that kind of quickly to stay close to the time. I ran just a few minutes over. Yes, sir.
It was back in history for me quite a ways, but I was with the city of Aurora many years ago, and one of the funds we were quite often able to get into was called the Highway Users Fund.
Correct.
Do you still have that available?
They still do. The Highway User Trust Fund is part of the gas tax in the state is collected and put into the Highway User Trust Fund. Our HUTF is the common acronym for those. And those then are dispersed based on the number of road miles you have, the ditches that you have, the bridges that you have, culverts and otherwise. Our road IGA that I referenced in this last slide here was includes reference to that. So the county, based on our road miles, passes through the HUTF. You have to either be an incorporated city or a county in order to directly receive HUTF. The county, through our IGA, which was updated back in 2002, commits to taking the funds and passing them directly through to Pueblo West, which they do, and it represents roughly half of our budget for streets and roads out here in Pueblo West. But
so that fund is still alive and well.
That fund's still alive. Our issue is not with the HUTF, it's with the property tax that we pay in as residents that go into the county road, streets and roads budget. We don't think that that's fairly allocated back out. We put our own general fund in as well as the HUTF to make our budget. We think the county needs to pitch in some more. Yes, sir.
Is the Civic Center getting funds from the lottery?
The GOCO, the Greater Outdoors Colorado, is part of lottery proceeds. So lottery proceeds trickle up to the state, and once the proceeds are determined, 50% of those proceeds go to Greater Outdoors Colorado for grants. 10% goes straight to state parks, and 40% goes to the Department of Local Affairs, which in its Conservation Trust Fund doles out on a per capita basis shares. And that's what our bill is representing, is the fact we only get half a share of that, we want a full share. But GOCO, which is grant-based, we applied and received the grant to, the $53,000 grant to Master Plan Civic Center, so it has some of the lottery funds in it. Now, this is only the planning side. Then we have to determine the funding side of any of that, phased in probably over time with amenities as you would go. But Civic Center concept is about creating a people place, a place where you can gather just for fun on the weekends, or you can have a concert or a festival or other things, not, you know, ball fields necessarily. We've got that as a separate planning process. Yes?
The removal of the wall at the entrance was a pretty big deal in the paper.
Yes.
Are there some plans to recreate some type of welcome sign or something there?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, it was very regrettable that the sign had to come down at all. And I can assure you that for the last 5 or 6 months, we have been looking at any ways that we could with the original sign construction group, to other engineers, to artists, with the county and otherwise, to figure out how we could potentially salvage in some way that sign. Could we get the mosaic off and put it over at the chamber? And there was just no way to do it, and that was unfortunate. What was unfortunate too is the county, as the project lead, didn't give any of us the advance notice that we would have liked. We knew it was inevitable, but we would have liked to have known, so we could have maybe done something around, had some fanfare around it. Now, the second part of your question, there's no planned replacement for that sign. However, I've been told that the chamber, potentially some Rotarians, and ourselves, I know, are interested in creating some kind of signage strategy for the community. The thought process is, at least currently, that we would be focusing on the main ingresses, egresses of the community, mostly the ingresses. So exit 108 off I-25, welcome to Pueblo West. We're thinking about a sign there. We're thinking obviously on the east and west corridors of Highway 50 as you're coming into Pueblo West. And the last one would be as you're coming in from the reservoir, which so many out-of-towners or boaters do, coming on Nichols Road, up over that bridge, welcome to Pueblo West. So really those 4 principal signs is what we're looking at as the next strategy in terms of community signage.
With that, if anybody else has any other questions, I'm sure that Jack will love to stick around and answer them, but we have to kind of get this going so people can get to work.
Just one thing. Could you address the detours, because that's, I still get questions about the detours, and that's not a metro district.
That's correct. Yeah, and actually the original detour that was set up was actually reconfigured. Now, we couldn't have planned it any worse because that's the morning we had the snow and the first morning of the detour. But what you see now is, rather than the 4-way stop concept, in a sense, that was created, now there's fluid traffic. It does make it a little difficult to get to some businesses, but we have sat down with them, even though it wasn't our initiative, to try to figure out the fluidity of that. We discussed at our board meeting last night even further how we might be able to accelerate that section or this project as a whole, so it has less effect on businesses over time. But that's something that is a sign of progress, and we're all kind of stumbling through it.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
And Christine as well. I want to welcome you to the back, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, Chad, you lead us before we touch sir.
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Yeah, I'll see you at 3:45.